All right, let me get my best Alex Jones voice on here. They're making the frogs gay. Pastor Joel.
Yes.
They're making everybody's seen that clip that's had a social media account. It's from, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Yes.
Where Alex Jones was screaming, "They're making the frogs gay." And it was one of the most mocked clips. I'm talking, it went everywhere. Guys made fun of it. There were all kinds of frog memes and like frogs looking at other frogs with weird looks on their faces. I mean, it went everywhere. Turns out that maybe they were making the frogs gay and that he's 100% right about the groundwater. 100% right. And I'd heard this one thing that there's a certain chemical that comes out of the Roundup or weed killer or whatever it is. I forget the name of it. People can look it up. But that if you take even acceptable levels of this chemical in our water, right, what would be acceptable and would pass as a clean water, and you put male frogs in the water, that the male frogs will do two things. They could turn to like a hermaphrodite type frog, have both sex organs, or they could go totally female. Further than that, they go totally female and they even have eggs. All right, so I heard something else about drinking water. Now, when I go to the restaurant and they bring me a glass of water, I feel like I've been assaulted now. I'm like, what are you doing? You trying to grow me ovaries or something like that? I'm not drinking that water. I order club soda. I don't know if it's any better, but I heard something else about the potential of the pill in our drinking water. We were talking about this.
Yeah. Yeah. The of course the what's called the pill, the birth control medicine for ladies, and of course, we're not against that as some denominations might be, but what it is estrogen and progesterone. It is tricking the female body into thinking she's already pregnant so she doesn't release an egg, from what I understand. And that medicine, of course, as all medicines are, they're excreted through the body, through urination, and ends up in our septic system. And cities that are quite large usually use the same water that is sewer, and through a process, it becomes our
thought,
drinking water. So
I'm thirsty.
I know in many municipalities I lived in, that's the way they would have their, your tap water was at one time sewer water, well treated and so on and so forth. Of course, bacteria and everything's out of it, but what they don't treat it for is some of these chemicals that are excreted through urination that are in the water. And one of those is estrogen, because of the heightened estrogen, because of the medicines that ladies take preventing pregnancy, so on and so forth. So the idea is that we could, when you fill up, after a nice long run, when you fill up your glass and put an ice cube in it, you're drinking a nice cold glass of estrogen. And between that, the tremendous amount of probably estrogen byproducts that we take in when we drink milk, because of course lady cows, that's redundant, obviously cows are ladies, but
most people don't know that anymore though.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when they give milk, their udder fills with milk when they're right after they have a calf. But today, because we want to keep that milk going, we pump them full of estrogen products so that they will keep giving milk. And of course, we take all that in when we drink milk, or when we eat Count Chocula in the morning. So the idea is, the reason girls today are going through precocious puberty, having their menstruation period at age 11, 12, 13, instead of in bygone years 16, 17 years of age. And the reason young boys are developing gynecomastia, which is like female tissue on their breasts and so on and so forth, is because of the higher levels of estrogen in our system. And it's documented, of course, that men our age have about half the testosterone levels that our grandfathers did, which
So right now I
don't
can
like
claim it's not my diet that's making me fat or giving me man boobs.
Exactly.
It's all, I'm blaming it on the water.
We have an excuse.
It
thank
is
God.
the water. They've assaulted me with tap water, and now I'm becoming more feminine. All right. I think this is a big. I think the pill might not be as innocent as we thought it was either. By the way, I just want to put that out there as a pastor, and we didn't use it. Now there's a whole rabbit hole of ideas you could get into with this. We didn't use it, the pill, because they do say that on a last level of birth control pill, right, at first it doesn't let the egg go to a place that it could be implanted or where it could be inseminated. So the egg's got to come down, maybe the fallopian tube. I don't know where it comes down. Then, does that sound good to
I
the
think
guys
what
watching?
it does in the beginning, it doesn't release the egg,
The egg can't
because
come.
it thinks it's already, because the body thinks it's already pregnant.
It makes the woman think it's pregnant, right?
Exactly. That's why initially I didn't have a problem with the pill, because it was not an abortifacient. It was not. But I think you're going somewhere that I also have read, which also makes me rethink the idea of birth control pills as, philosophically.
Right. So it's not supposed to ever let the egg get to a place where it can be implanted with the sperm.
Well, where it can be inseminated.
Inseminated
where
with the
the sperm and the egg can touch.
Right.
It blocked that because the female ovaries, it did not release the ovum. It did not release the egg.
That's right. And then but here's what they say with the pill. All right. And I've had women get so mad at me when I told people this when I was younger. I had mothers take their daughters out and get them that birth control shot because we told people this in marriage counseling because they couldn't come to terms with the idea that this might be true. But it is true. All right. So if somehow the birth control deal fails and the egg comes down and gets to where it can be inseminated with semen, we believe once an egg and a sperm hits, what do we have, Pastor
Human
John?
life.
We have life.
No question.
Life begins at conception.
I believe
As a
that.
matter of fact, now, because of our technology where we can see what's happening, right, actually there's a burst of light. Have y'all seen that?
I haven't seen it, but I have been told about it.
I've seen the video, and it is glorious and amazing, and I mean it's awesome, right? I mean it's an awe-inspiring moment because let there be light,
Hallelujah.
right? The light shined in the darkness. Darkness didn't overcome it. The light was the life of men, right? God and light are connected. In Him there is no darkness.
Yes.
So whenever a life is born, that's the light of God coming into the world. It's the image of God.
Hallelujah.
It's all of it, right?
Yeah.
And so now when we know scientifically now, whenever that sperm hits that egg, boom, there's a burst of light. And there's a science behind it, which is above my head. And I'm not, I'm a preacher, right? I don't need to know the science. I'm a proclaimer. So then if that egg, I think the process is like this. Once it's inseminated, you have life, it's implanted in the lining, right?
In the uterus.
Of the uterus.
Yes.
And from there the baby grows.
Right.
So here's what can happen with the pill. If the egg comes down and it gets implanted, the next level of protection against life coming is it can strip the uterine wall, and then it can be an abortifacient, right? And that's where a lot of the Catholic theology comes from, where the Catholics have believed this. And they would teach methods like the rhythm method and whatnot for birth control. And you know what we called the people that use the rhythm method? We call them parents. They call them parents. No, actually, I'll say this. This is technical, detailed. People are going to watch this podcast and get mad about it if we label it right. And that brings me great joy. I'm so glad because if truth makes you mad, I don't care. So Jesse and I, this is the way we did back when we did, they called it natural family planning. We took a course with the Catholics, all right? So my theology came from the Catholics on this. Hats off to all you Catholics. I disagree with everything your Pope said for the last however many years, but I'm with you on this. So like we knew, you kind of know how long a woman's fertile after their cycle, generally speaking. But as a young man and woman in passion that should be having sex, you had to control yourself. And during that period of time, we used condoms, right? And it would be like, I don't know, 10 days, 14 days out of the month. And then the rest of the time, we didn't. So why am I talking about this? Because I'm a pastor. And there's people in my church, and I pastor young people. And I want them to get that this hormonal thing could have a larger implication. Now, I'll say this. There are a lot of mothers that would be like my mother's age, right? They're grandmothers now. My mom's in her 70s now. I'm 46. I was the youngest of her children. They weren't told that whenever they were sold the birth control as the easy answer for everything. So a lot of them, when you tell them this, there's a shame attached to it because they're good Christian people that cannot believe they potentially aborted a fetus.
Sure.
A life. And they don't want to, and I get it. You don't want to hear that. You don't even want to entertain that thought. So I've seen some real dramatic, over-the-top, crazy responses when I told them the medical truth throughout the years. People left the church over this understanding. And it wasn't like something I preached every Sunday. It wasn't preaching the gospel of Jesus and birth control. But when it came up, I had some real harsh encounters over this.
When I also did some reading that this could be, because of course this is never told.
Never.
It is never, the birth control is never, you're never applied with it, and with the understanding is that it could just not let an actual zygote implant into the uterus. It could, the body could expel an actually inseminated egg. Nobody tells you that. And still, I think that scientifically the jury's out, but I have read literature along these lines which made me very much rethink what I had done.
See, I don't think the jury's out. I think the science is sure.
That it can indeed.
100%. I think the science is there that an egg can come down, be fertilized, be implanted in the wall, and the pill can act as an abortifacient as a last measure. And then it strips it out.
Of course, that's what the French abortion drug, RU-486, I think at the time, now they just call it something else, but the morning after pill.
Right.
That's exactly what the morning
That's how it
after.
operates?
That's how it
I
operates.
was unaware of that.
So, of course, I was always against that because that is the known mechanism by which a woman does not stay pregnant, I would say, and with my understanding. But birth control is a touchy issue because of this possibility of it actually being an abortifacient. And of course, we as Christians believe absolutely that life begins at conception. So anything that prevents, like a prophylactic, sperm from touching the egg, I think is fair game for family planning. But anything that allows human life to be destroyed, of course, as a Christian, I can't deal with it.
I agree with you 100%. I agree 100%. All right, so I also think there are other health things which I'm not qualified to talk about that thing could do to females. So I think we've been given this, hey, make your life sexually easy, sell, right, from the world and from the medical community, where hey, and it brought great a sexual revolution and a degradation to sexual ethics in America whenever that pill was widespread. Here's another thing. If we're talking estrogen, we're talking testosterone. Are the frogs gay? Are the men drinking estrogen-riddled pea water? There's some big questions here, right? Are you going to grow a big set of man boobs? I feel like listening to Norah Jones right now, or maybe Adele. We could light a candle. I'm going to go home and take a bath right now. Some rom-com. Would you like to watch a rom-com? We'll go watch a rom-com.
Ever since I've been drinking tap water, I've been more and more into romantic comedies.
I just love Matthew McConaughey movies now,
great.
right? I love them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So okay. Larger question. Here's what I understand. You know how there's almost been a push for a less masculine male, culturally,
Sure.
right? Androgyny is like the tip of the woke cultural spear, right? Like stars in dresses, Joel, right? There's always some picture of like, okay, there's Post Malone. Now there's Post Malone in a dress. What is that about? Right? So Could there be a larger cultural engineering at foot that wants to lower birth rates? Potentially, got to be careful what language we say because this will get censored, but potentially flatten the birth rate. We'll say it like that, right? So I don't say the buzzwords and the algorithms throw this thing off. Flatten the breaking forth of new life, as to speak. We might want to flatten the breaking forth of new life. What if we were to load the women up with enough estrogen that their bodies always told them they were pregnant? Could that change the way they portray or see males? Right? Because if you're fertile and your body's telling you have an egg to be implanted, would that attract you to a certain kind of man? Maybe a man who was full of testosterone.
Sure.
Maybe a man that could be a protector and a provider. Mm-hmm. Maybe a man that have the ability to inseminate you on some instinctual level. So if you manipulate that, would that manipulate the type of man a woman might be looking for? I think so.
Yeah.
I think that, and some people make this case that instinctually the female might be looking for a less masculine male because she has no need for them at a hormonal level because she's always on the pill. And so you couple that with stuff in the water that lowers our test. The fact that we have half the test that our granddads are. Sometimes at men's ministry meetings, I don't want to pray for the men. I'm like, line them all up and let's give them all a test shot. Everybody gets a CC of test in here today, right? Because without this hormone, if we are becoming more estrogenic, no wonder we have the problems we have right now culturally with people having these questions about their sexuality.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is don't allow them to make the frogs gay. Stop drinking the tap water. Everybody, all you men, get your test levels checked. Also think if you have, if these things are realities, here's an interesting thought, and we're siring children, we better check how their hormones are being messed with. I think it's probably pretty important as it comes to growth years, right? What could be happening here? If the boys don't, if they are getting dosed with estrogen through waters, if these things are true, I think we better pay a real attention to it because it has developmental consequences.
Absolutely.
So I'm for a strong line between the sexes, just so you know. I believe there is no such thing as gender. That word just was kind of created. There's been male and female from the beginning of time. There were powerful forces that want to reconstruct humanity, and I think they have put together this idea of gender that is not true. So I think we would do very well if we went back to the book of beginnings, where God made them male and female. So get your hormones checked, all right? Don't let the frogs be gay. Thank you for joining us today. Why don't you like and subscribe, share this, and come back soon. Stay out of trouble.